Hey guys, Marissa at kitchentablestamper.com. Today I got a pretty thank you card for you. This is one that I've been sending out with some class packets. You might have gotten this one in the mail from me if you are a kitchen table stamper student and you've taken some of my classes with the packet. So I thought I'd do a quick tutorial and show you how it's done. All right, so we're gonna start with our card base. It's crumb cake cardstock. 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it already at 4.25. I'm just going to use my bone folder, get a nice crease going here. When you're doing the crease, you've scored already, but now you want to pull the edges of the card together at your thumb and then work the folds. And I always work it back the other way too, so any cracking or pulling of the fibers happens inside the card. And then outside, we're going to still, again, use our thumb against the open side to really square everything up and then crease with the bone folder. You'll get a nice flat card with a strong, clean crease. All right, now we're going to ink with crumb cake on crumb cake cardstock and do a little background stamping. It'll add some texture to the back. We're using the Bottled Happiness bundle. It's a Bottled Happiness stamp set. Bundles up with the vintage bottle punch. And this is the flower part of the two-step bouquet image. I'm going to put a Stampin' Pierce mat because we're using a photopolymer stamp set. And I'm also going to protect my surface with a little bit of small grid paper. That'll keep everything nice and tidy while we're stamping. We might go off the edge a little bit here, and that's okay. All right, crumb cake ink. And I'm just gonna simply put a little floral. Oh, I used the leaves this time. Picked up the wrong one, but that's okay because it still gives us that great texture. So the two will be a little bit different. They're gonna be a little bit different anyways because of the edge that I'm going to use. So this one's its own creation, right? I gotta wipe this one off because we're gonna change to mint macaron for those leaves. Set that aside. All right, let's clear away the crumb cake ink and adhere our designer series paper. I've got two pieces that are 2 by 4.5. These are from the new Host paper. Design a Daydream Designer Series paper is an exclusive 12 by 12 mega pack of paper. It's only for hosts. You can't buy the paper with money. You can only do with Stampin' Rewards. So when you have an order that's $150 or more, that order, whether it's you or you and friends, qualifies for host rewards. And those host rewards can be spent on exclusive items like this Design a Daydream paper. And before we glue down the first pattern, I have a little edge here. This is petal pink cardstock, and I cut the edge using my favorite value item from the last chance list. Check out the last chance list. The sports event dies is $13.50 right now, and it's still available in stock, and it's worth every penny. These tickets are great for everything, not just for sports themed items. So we're going to go ahead and use this little ticket edge corner. It almost looks like a postage stamp, this little ticket edge, to add some interest to our background. So just glue that scrap. Now we'll glue to the card front and then toggle our second paper here. So we've got this beautiful kind of shabby chic vintage look going on. Let's do some more stamping. I'll set this aside and give it a second to dry. That's just so sweet. Now, on my original sample, the one that I sent for thank you cards, I used a piece of a Stitched So Sweetly rectangle. Now, Stitched So Sweetly has been retired for a little bit, but if you've got that die set, that makes a pretty little edge too. All right, let's get some basic white cardstock and some ink pads. We'll do a little stamping. My stamp pads today are Crumb Cake, Pool Party, Petal Pink, and Mint Macaron. We're going to stamp the bottle with Pool Party on basic white. We'll just put that down in the corner here where it's easy to punch out. And then we're going to stamp our flowers. I got the flowers this time, don't worry, in Petal Pink. But before we stamp that, we're going to take a Blackberry Bliss marker And we're going to use the brush point to make these little kind of spiky clusters purple. So we're going to get two-tone flowers this way. You got to work a little bit quickly here because your petal pink ink is drying as you're applying Blackberry Bliss. So just go right over the top. When you got that done, if you want to, you can huff on the stamp. And the moisture from your breath will kind of just reactivate the Blushing Bride or the petal pink ink a little bit. I'm going to stamp that. Now for our second step in this two-step bouquet. Now the leaves, get those in mint macaron. When we line this up, we're going to find some landmarks. We want 3 landmarks. I'm going for the center of this flower, this flower, this flower, in a triangle placement. We're going to line those up, starting with the left lower, and then the right upper. So we have to pivot to get that one lined up in there. And then by that point, the bottom right one, the bottom right of our triangle should be pretty well in line. Just take a look at everything else before you press. But if you line up this first, the lower left, then the upper point, the lower right point that you're using as a landmark should be in line. Check before you bring the stamp down to the paper, and you should get pretty perfect placement every time. Now we've got a gorgeous bouquet that is 3 colors. I'm going to take Thank You. My thank you stamp is from another stamp set here. It's not included in the Bottled Happiness. I used Nature's Harvest for this thank you. Any scripty thank you will do, I think, here. We're going to stamp that one in this corner so we can punch out. All right, we've got our stamping done. Let's grab some punches. So I've done a quick fussy cut, a bubble cut of our bouquet. I want to bump that up on dimensionals, so we had to liberate it from the paper. Now let's go ahead and punch out the bottle. And our sentiment, we're going to get those 2 out of the page. I'm using the oval duet puncher. I stamped just a little bit too high. You have to give the paper a haircut here to get that centered. If you want to, you can punch the oval out of a skinny scrap and then stamp on the oval, or you can punch the sentiment out. But what happens is you're going to get that duet, that duo, and you'll get this wobbly edge oval. It's perfect in white. Save it for another project. You can layer a sentiment or an accent with that. There's our pieces. Let's bring our card base and sample back in here. Get some dimensionals too. I'm going to use mini dimensionals and pop up the bottle and bouquet. We're also going to pop up the greeting, but the greeting is going to overlap the bottle just a little bit, so keep that in mind with your dimensional placement. I'm going to take my oval, and from the thank side, I'm going to add one, and then I'm going to add another one, not quite to the opposite edge. All right, everybody's sticky. Place our bottle. Just lightly, don't burnish it down yet. We want to make sure we like the placement of the bouquet and that nothing goes off the edge, top or right. I think that's looking pretty good. We'll add our thank you. And maybe I'll lift my thank you just a little bit. All right, I like the placement. I'll burnish that down. Done some die cutting ahead of time using here's my little tiny crumb cake tag and a little tiny petal pink heart, and got those from the teacup dies. I'm going to glue that little heart before I lose it. And the easiest way to do that is you take your pick tool with the putty end, lift the heart, add a dab of glue. I'm about to glue it to the table. Lift it up on the spatula, and we'll slide it right on there. There's just plenty of glue there. Just straighten it out. There. It's a tiny little detail, but it's so cute. All right, now I'm going to pick up the whole tag, add a drop of glue, and then put a tag on the bottle. A couple little embellishments are going to finish this off just nicely. I've got some linen thread here. I'm going to tie a loopy bow and put a dab of glue on the back of the knot. Add the bow to the top of the tag. And my last touch is a little sparkle. I've got these iridescent basic rhinestones. I love the rainbow fiery sparkle that these throw. We're going to use a medium and a small one here. Just kind of up from the thank you. You can use as many as you like. I've got 2. You can use 3 or 5. How much sparkle do you want? I'm going to do a little bit right there. All right, tail's a little bit longer on one side than the other. Give it a trim. And there's our thank you card. All right, so I've got leaves instead of flowers over here and a little bit different edge, but overall, same card. What do you guys think? If you've got any questions about the project, you can email Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. And to shop Stampin' Up 24/7, you can buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net and click shop. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.